Hey everyone, my name's Alec. This is White Whale Comics. You know it's my channel because I have no fancy intros or countdowns or pomp or circumstance. Just
But you do have a duck.
I've got a duck that is forced upon me by my free StreamYard account. The handsome little mallard, though. I'm here as always with John from John's Comics with Kids. 141 episodes in. You'd think probably more than that because I don't number the ones that are like the best of the year. So let's call it an even 150.
Happy 150th.
Yeah, thanks. Ish. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to actually have some books that I feel like have a little meat on the bone to talk about.
Something to talk about.
Yeah.
Got a couple people pre hanging out, tailgating, as you like to say. Our buddy Old Wolf, our D&D buddy and real life buddy. Apparently too cool to watch us on the live, but thanks for stopping in anyway. Magic Lasso, always a pleasure. Don't plan on talking about Wonder Woman tonight, but I'm sure you will be ready and waiting if we do.
Yeah.
C. Woodard was just at the Royal Rumble. Wish I could have been there. It was a great show for you WWE fans out there. You two look like a punched eye. Black and blue? I don't know what that means. Oh, I just got it. Our shirts. Daymare is another D&D buddy. Aggressively relaxing. What's up, everyone? Thanks for stopping in and listening to us gab about books. No Wonder Woman, bye.
I respect
it. No planned Wonder Woman. There's always a chance. You gotta hold out hope.
I did read the latest issue. It was very good.
Well, there you go. You want to talk about it quickly?
just for Ryan, just give Ryan a little support. It was a good use. The last couple issues, a really good use of the Wonder Women. So you had all the different variations of Yara and Cassie.
Yeah.
It was fun to see them all in action while Diana was sort of playing a backseat character. So there you go, Ryan.
Oh wow. This is probably just French to you, but KO is a wrestler named Kevin Owens who had a hell of a ladder match with Cody Rhodes, the WWE champ, and a 1-of-1 signed Flawless Auto is a big money card. So I'm sure you still probably got a decent amount for that because it's not like KO is a up and comer. He's been around for a while. But yeah, that was a hell of a match, man. They put their bodies through things that I'm sure they do not get paid enough to do. 500-ish. Yeah. Anyway, WWE Chat is another show that I don't do, but maybe I should. This is a New Comic Book Day Book Club. We're talking about some books that came out in January of this year. Just last week was still January. And they didn't just come out last week. They may have come out earlier in January. Guess we'll leave you guessing. We're going to talk about two books that we have planned to talk about. We're going to talk about Ultimate Wolverine, #1, and Lucky Devils, #1. What do you want to start with?
I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I guess there's probably maybe more substance to Lucky Devils.
I would agree. So you want to do that first? Make sure we have time.
Yeah, let's do that first.
All right. So this is Lucky Devils #1. It is by Charles Soule and Ryan Brown from the creators of 8 Billion Genies. Says right there on the cover, just in case you didn't know. For those of you who have watched our show in the past, 8 Billion Genies was one of both of our favorite books a couple of years ago. So this is kind of like the theoretical, like
sidequel.
Yeah, an homage quill. It's not in the same universe at all, but it has kind of like a similar vibe or tone, I guess you could
Totally.
say. 'Cause they have worked on other projects together, but this is very much like it feels like a follow-up story to me.
That's fair. Yeah.
Obviously, we'll see how that goes moving forward if it continues, if it's just a similar setup. But basically, to give you a brief rundown of this first issue, it focuses on two characters. One is an adjunct professor at a community college. The other one is a nurse at a hospital emergency room, and they both, are content enough, it seems, but they both kind of can't get ahead in life. It seems like the adjunct professor is kind of like always out of money. He can't really get a date. His classroom is too hot. His students don't really listen to him. He's got a bit of an anger issue. And then on the other hand, the nurse loves helping people, so she really likes her job, but at the same time, she has to clean up poopy messes and deal with annoying coworkers. And so they're kind of going about their lives. And then simultaneously, as they each go to their own beds one night, the little devil characters on the cover, one for each of them, appears at their foot of their bed and says like, "Hey, we're the devils on your shoulders, and we're the ones making your life bad." But it's more complicated than that. So they kind of explain, the devils kind of explain that like there's a hierarchy in the devil world, and this is their job, and their job, they get assigned a human, and they succeed in their job if they use the 7 deadly sins, or they get to pick a 7 deadly sin to imbue upon. So the professor has wrath, the nurse has envy, and they are trying to get these people to become influential to make other people evil as well, because there aren't as many devils as there are people in the world by far. So they kind of have to use these people as to extend their reach, to make more people evil in a way. So they come to them and say, like, basically in both cases, they say, "You're too good of a person. You're not, like, no matter what I do, you're not being evil." So the professor, the devil, fries his computer. He steals his money so he can't pay for his date. He tries to make him write this really nasty response to a student who wrote a poor answer on a question. But he kind of, like, despite being influenced by this devil, at the end of the day, he's still doing his best to do good. And same thing for the nurse. Like, the devil tries to make her pour yogurt in another nurse's car who got a fancy Mercedes from her boyfriend, and stuff like that. And she also resists because she just wants to help people. So the devils come to them and say, "Hey, listen, we're not getting anywhere with this. So here's the deal. I'm going to make you influential without making you evil, so that I can kind of pull one over on our bosses so that they think we've done a great job so we can get promoted. You win by your lives getting better without having to be evil. We win by moving on to another person to further our reach." As you can imagine, they're both kind of taken aback by this whole introduction. But at the end of the day, the devils kind of trick them, or strong arm them into agreeing, because they say, okay, if you don't want to do our plan, we can always just go back to making your life miserable, because that's been the status quo. And they're basically like, okay, well, no, your
More
plan
of the
sounds great.
same, or yeah.
So then the devils are like, all right, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning, get some rest. And they go back to hell, where they live their life, which is basically just a Monsters Inc. style city of devils. It's not like the traditional biblical hell of fire and brimstone and torturing souls. It's just like where the devils live. And it turns out these two devils are in a marriage or some sort of relationship where they are each other's partner or lover or whatever. And it turns out they secretly have these halos that appeared above their heads that are kind of made of crystals. So they're not like, again, not traditional like angel halos. And they say the issue ends with them saying, you know, basically, we're going to burn this place to the ground, meaning hell. So they are actually on the opposite mission of what they are intended to be, where they're trying to destroy hell instead of extend its reach. Did I sum it up? I know
No,
it's
that was
kind of
amazing.
long-winded, but there was a lot to the issue.
There's a lot, yeah, and a lot of story to cover with a lot of different twists and turns for sure.
So having said all that, what were your thoughts compared? I mean, I would think we're going to compare apples to apples to 8 Billion Genies #1. What are your thoughts in that regard?
I definitely felt like 8 Billion Genies #1 caught my interest more and hooked me more, like I was more invested in it. But at the same time, I felt like 8 Billion Genies kicked into gear when it started to play with the concept of time. And it was like,
Yeah.
8 minutes later, 8 days later, 8 months, whatever, it started like expanding the time. That's when I started to really grasp what they were doing with that one. So it's possible that this one will have a similar, maybe the next issue ups the ante to the point
Well,
where you can kind of see the concept better.
there's a list of the issues on the title page. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't remember it.
It says like, let me just find it. Come on. Yeah. Goes down the side here. I know you can't see it with my light, but
Okay.
its issue is called Limbo, and then it's lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery.
Oh,
And it gets the circles get redder as it goes. So I'm guessing things are going to get out of hand pretty quickly, for better or worse for any of these characters. But so it seems like it's not going to be so straightforward as that. I mean, I would agree that 8 Billion Genies kind of grabbed me by the collar quicker, but it also conceptually, the baseline of the conceptual nature of 8 Billion Genies was revealed quicker. Like the genies were like, hey, we're here, here's our deal.
Yeah.
And
it was like instant chaos.
And right. Whereas this, like, you didn't really get that reveal until the last page almost. Like, even though the devils revealed themselves, like the whole real twist of the thing wasn't until almost the end of the issue.
Yeah, and ultimately, until we got to the devil's world, we were very unsure if they were being told the truth or being lied to. Right? There was a
Right.
For me, at least, when I was reading that sequence, I was like, oh, these devils are clearly lying to them and playing with them.
And
But
they are, but not in the way you think they are.
exactly. And then when you go to their world, they're revealed to be in many ways on the up and up, in the sense that they're not there to do harm.
Right.
They are there to upend the system.
And in fact, they, in talking to each other back on their rooftop of their apartment building, they basically say, like, are you sure you want to do this? If we get caught, we're going to be tortured for eternity. And they're like, yeah, what else are we supposed to do? We can't sit here and live our lives in this day-to-day, very similar to a suburban or urban human life of them sitting there watching the Bang Big Theory, which I thought was very funny because that show is hot garbage.
I've never watched it.
No, good for you.
Magic Lasso, I get the right.
Yeah.
Isn't that the genie? The genie he wants.
It's only one, Barbara Eaton.
I did like, especially like the two characters that we meet in our world and their ups and downs that were very relatable, very humorous, very sad at other moments. So I was instantly connected to the two of them, and I thought that was it was a very simple way to start,
Right, and
but it worked.
Again, as the Devils point out themselves, like at their core, these are two very good people. So even though they have their faults, as all people do, you immediately start rooting for them because you see that they are, in their hearts, good people trying to do good. Like the professor, is poor as heck. Like he's barely making by, ends meet, and but when he's on his date with this Tinder match that he gets, who brushes him off almost immediately, he basically says, like, she's like, well, why are you an adjunct professor? Like, if it doesn't make any money and doesn't, he's like, I just like teaching and I like sharing. He's a philosophy teacher, which is it starts off very much like a conversation you see on The Good Place, which makes sense because that show is very much about philosophy, and it's the same sort of thing about like pure good versus pure evil. And so like you're kind of rooting for him because he's just like trying to do what he loves and share these existential questions with these students who he wants to be more interested than they are. And then the nurse, like you see her interact with the old lady who crapped the bed, and she's just like an absolute delight with her.
Yeah.
And she talks to her mom on the phone, whose mom's like, why don't you find a real career path? And she's like, I like helping people. This allows me to help people. So you want these people to win because they're good people.
Right.
And, it's very easy. Like in 8 Billion Genies, for example, that wasn't so clear that all the people were good people.
Yeah. I guess in that way, what you're saying is that the concept was clearer at the start of 8 Billion Genies, but the characters less so. And in this one, it's sort of the inverse.
Well, I mean, that's what we're
told. Very well drawn, but the concept seems still maybe yet to be revealed completely.
I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we'll see what happens to these characters if they continue to be good when given this free range of working with their devil side. What's up, brother John? Thanks for stopping by. And I did pop up Gordon there, but our number one D&D fan, Gordon, thanks for stopping in. So yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I assume there's going to be more of those like philosophical, existential, and I mean, that was a big part of 8 Billion Genies too, about, like, what do you spend your wish on, and do the genies kind of deem it appropriate, or because there was that whole part towards the end where they kind of talked about overlapping wishes and what takes precedent, and like what's allowed and what's not allowed, and
how entertained were the genies by your wish.
Right.
I always like that caveat, like, if you entertain us, then maybe we'll let you have it.
So I assume there's going to be a lot of that running throughout this as well, and that stuff really interests me.
And I think for me, it's almost like you could argue 3, but I'll keep it to 2 parallel stories with the 2 humans, and like you're saying, how do they respond given human nature when it comes to granted wishes or power or what have you,
right?
Versus these 2 devils, secretly trying to fight a system where they're feeling trapped. And so I think those 2 parallel stories will be interesting to see how they play side by side.
Yeah. And, like we've mentioned, we are shown and told that these characters are good people. Like the devils say, you are too good for us to corrupt. with our meddling, but are they going to be too good to not corrupt when they're given knowledge of how things are working? You know, if the devil is able to say to him, you know, to the professor, hey, you want a second date with that girl and you want to get her into bed because I can make that happen. Like, it's a lot different when it's directly put to you like that, rather than this amorphous thing you don't know that's happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Or even the single genie wish versus this seemingly endless power of these devils who can manipulate the world around you. I mean, maybe not to the same extent that the genies can, but to enough of a point where they are claiming, you know, I'm going to make your life better if you join me in this plan.
No, absolutely. And knowledge, you know, the knowledge as much as power can warp perception and lives, right? So I think those things are very human. So the reactions of the characters here to having the complete understanding of what's happening, to the point where they may feel it's not my skill and merit being evaluated here, it's just arbitrary that I got the devil and the devil's giving me what I want. I'm not earning this.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some interesting human psychology that could be at play. And I think Charles Soule, just based on the stuff I've read by him, this is an area where he does really well as far as mining character points.
Yeah. One moment I found very humorous is when the genies, the devils are explaining how the hierarchy of devils work, where they say, like, basically we're on a very low rung where we have one person that might influence one person, and then above that is someone who might influence, you know, a handful of people, and then some all the way up to, you know, 1 in a billion. And then they go, I'm sure you can think of a couple of those nowadays, which, you know, immediately my mind went to a certain direction. But when I thought about it for a second more, you know, obviously it's an interesting question, because, or an interesting point, because it's confirmation bias, where if someone who has different views and opinions than me reads that, they are going to think of somebody else that they think is the evil 1 in a billion evil person.
Yeah, you can fill in your own blank.
So I just thought that yeah, but we all know what we're talking about.
I mean, with Charles Soule, you can probably guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. Context clues. I don't know if you noticed when his like action figure gets broken. I'm
It's
pretty
the
sure
God
it's the
Country
guy from Curse Word.
Oh, is it Curse Words? Okay, I thought it was a God Country, like
Which
the
is,
grandfather with the sword. But Charles Soule did, yeah.
I think
Curse Words,
it's
that
the
makes
guy
more
from,
sense.
yeah, and Ryan Brown. It's the same.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just thought that was a
Yeah.
funny little, like, Pixar style Easter egg, where they kind of
Right.
like snuck one of their own characters into the background.
Absolutely. As we would expect of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think
I
I'm
also really
lagging a little bit
loved
here.
the design
Sorry.
and yeah. Sorry.
Paul, that's my bad.
I really loved the design and characterization of the devils.
Just like artistically how they appear,
Yeah.
and because they're not all uniform like the genies, there's definitely a little more personality to them.
Right. And just like they're kind of like got these weird toothy grins, and it's even funny when they're back in hell. One of them's waiting at a bus stop, and he's got like this little. I mean, they both kind of do. They have fire coming off their heads, and a kid at the bus stop refers to it as a funny haircut. I don't know. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, and then even the other ones we see in the city, they all seem very unique, which
Right.
I think
But
lends a lot of character.
yeah, very much like humans, they're all in the same box, but they're all unique. So I just thought that was when they're like at the foot of the bed, just like, "Hey guys," I don't know. They made me chuckle. I like those little guys.
No, they're well drawn for sure.
So overall, what was your final thoughts?
I mean, yeah, no, I definitely want to read the rest of it. I don't know if I'll probably trade weight it and just read the whole kit and caboodle when they get to the end. But it's definitely something I'm not going to miss. So what's that? 8.5? Let's do 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, for a first issue, I'm probably around the same as you. Maybe 8.75. Like, I really enjoyed the journey it took me on, and I think it's probably only about 8 issues, so I might just pick them up just to have a nice companion piece to 8 Billion Genies in my short boxes. But I have faith in the creative team, but it's one of those things that like really depends on where this goes, whether or not I'm going to like it at the end of the day.
And that was the crux for me for 8 Billion Genies, because I felt like, yeah, I like issue 1, but by the time I got back to it, it was like almost finished, and I started reading it and catching up, and I was like, okay, now it's got it. Every issue felt to me,
Yeah,
I didn't know where it was going to go, but it furthered the story so well, and I was even more interested at the end of it. So
right. And
it grew in my estimation every time.
And I mean that's kind of what I mean by I have faith in the creative team, where I agree. I enjoyed 8 Billion Genies the whole way through, but as it built, it became something more than that first issue.
Absolutely.
So, this very well could be a 9.5 by the end of it.
Yeah,
Or it
no,
could be
absolutely.
could be a 7. I mean, I don't think I'm going to end up hating it either way. That's why I kind of feel good about sticking with it. But I mean, I'm the very least going to read it and trade as soon as it comes out. If not, I'll probably just pick up the issues.
And I think they did a nice hardcover edition for 8 Billion Genies, so they might do the same for this.
Yeah.
And I want to say that's how I finished. I had to, because I think for our best of that year, I reread it in the hardcover form.
And
but I don't know that I
apparently,
collected the whole run. I might only have like 3/4 of it.
It must have done well enough because a second printing's coming out next week.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go.
Which I honestly don't know how much that means anymore nowadays, because a lot of times second prints are solicited before the first print even comes out. So how would you know how well it's selling?
Fair. Very fair.
So yeah, I mean, definitely worth checking out. If you haven't read 8 Billion Genies, go pick up a trade or a hardcover if there is one, and read that. It's still a great read all these years later. But
it's aged well, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like a fine wine or a cheese, but not like me. But I mean, if you want to get on the ground floor, check out Lucky Devils.
There it is.
In stores now.
Well, second print coming soon.
Yeah, second print coming soon, but I'm willing to bet you can probably still find the first print pretty easily. I haven't heard any like spec or hype around it.
No, none of that. I think my shop sold out, but I think that's just because they tend to get a lot of
not a super high ordered book.
That and yeah, we tend to have people that buy most of the indie image books, especially issue number ones.
But I mean, I'm sure you can jump on eBay and get one for definitely cover price plus shipping. Alrighty, let's switch gears quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, you got it. Then.
Yeah. I
Right.
didn't buy Lucky Devils. I just read it digitally, but
Oh.
I did end up going back and grabbing one of these. So that might be a sign of me what I'm going to say, because I did enjoy this, but it's the popcorn, I guess, to the main course that we ate just a second ago,
Yeah.
which
It's
is fine. I
It's
like
the Fast and
popcorn.
the Furious to the Fellini.
Yeah. So, and I can appreciate both, and it's possible I like this more, because I don't really like most of the other Ultimate books, and this one was actually kind of more what I wanted from the Ultimate books that I've read up to now. So here we have Ultimate Wolverine, which, I mean, is basically what it has been touted as, which is a Wolverine as the Winter Soldier story. There's not a whole lot
Quite
more to it. In
literally.
fact, that is basically the book. There's not, I don't know that I need to give you much more information, but the plot is fairly simple. It kicks off with him in an airplane looking like he did there on the cover. He doesn't speak really the entire book. He's with a bunch of soldiers. They're going in to do some sort of mission, and he pulls Captain America from the Winter Soldier movie, where he just basically jumps out of the plane, and they're like, "Did he have a parachute?" And they just ripped the line right out of that movie. He crashes into this castle in the forest somewhere. It looks like a church maybe, and there are mutant characters inside. And in the Ultimate Universe up to now, we haven't really seen the mutants. There's an X-Men series adjacent to this, I guess you could say, by Peach Momoko, which is wonderful, and I really am still enjoying it. But it gets grief, as we've discussed, because it's not an X-Men book. It's just called.
I mean, this
X-Men.
is. I want to go back to this. Just put a pin in that, so you can finish
Yes.
your.
Yeah. But we've got, Nightcrawler, Mystique, a few other characters, and they're hiding out in this church, and Wolverine Logan is laying siege to their base. Meanwhile, we're cutting to the past and seeing Wolverine in a pneumatic tube being brainwashed by Russian mutants. So we've got Colossus there, we've got his sister, we've got Omega Red, and they're basically turning him into the Winter Soldier. He's going through the brainwashing therapy that we saw Bucky Barnes go through in the Winter Soldier comics. And then we cut back to the church, and he's kind of just going through a full assault, and he runs into Colossus and gets into a fight with him, and it seems like Colossus is doing pretty well until Wolverine guts him up, and you realize, no, it's Mystique pretending to be Colossus. And then at the end, it cuts back to him, and you see him going through the surgery to get the adamantium, and then back again, and he's fighting Nightcrawler this time. Nightcrawler seems like he's gonna do okay. He's bamfing pretty well, and let's see here. There seems to be a little bit of regret in what Nightcrawler is feeling obligated to do, which is to try to put Logan down. In the end, he gets killed by Logan the same way as Mystique, and seems to speak to Logan in a way that reflects that they knew each other, but he can't figure out the way to get through to his friend inside of the brainwashing.
Right. Yeah.
And then he is killed, and Logan walks back outside. He's collected by the Russian scientists and the soldiers. They load him back into the airplane, and he flies off, and he takes off the cowl, but not the Winter Soldier mask.
He never takes the face off.
No. And he takes off the cowl, and there's a couple of moments of him having a sense memory. He's that Wolverine sense of smell. He's smelling something. So he sniffs
throughout the issue is him.
That's really his only dialogue.
Right. Is him sniffing and recognizing different smells.
So he sniffs the blood on his gloves and mask. And then the last little bit is him sitting there in the plane ruminating and thinking over the Lord's Prayer, as
Which
though.
Nightcrawler says earlier while the base is being attacked.
So it's almost as if we're getting the sense that maybe Logan has some connection that's bleeding through,
No pun intended.
owing to the smell and the connection he had with Nightcrawler at some point. And that's kind of the end. He's left we're left feeling like, when's he going to break out of this? Is he already out of this? Where is his mind at this particular moment? Did I miss anything? Was there anything you wanted to? I know you wanted to mention the X-Men versus Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah, so we can start there. So to be frank and upfront, I haven't been reading like the Ultimates or like the Ultimate.
You mean the other titles or you mean specifically the Ultimates?
The Ultimates. I've been reading
the Avengers book.
Right. So I don't know if I'm missing something there, but we've talked at length about the kind of two minds of what people think of the Ultimate X-Men, current Ultimate X-Men, and if it's good or if it's not. My question is, though, that I've enjoyed the Ultimate X-Men and it is its own thing, but since when were the actual X-Men we know in this Ultimate universe? So why, because Colossus, Nightcrawler, Magic, Mystique, R.I.P. Were these characters previously introduced into the 6160 universe, or is this their introduction, and why do they just exist in this world when they're not the X-Men? I don't know. That kind of threw me off because it felt like it almost felt like
I will speak
third universe.
Just having read you could read this independently of all that other stuff, and nothing else impacts what's going on here.
Right, and that's fine. And as a standalone thing, it didn't not make sense. It just I don't know where these characters came from in the scope of the Ultimate Universe. If this was just called Extreme Wolverine or some other thing, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. But because our introduction to the current Ultimate X-Men is these teenagers in Japan,
I think, yeah. So it sounds to me, and you can correct me, that your real issue is a lack of clarity on the Marvel side of how these things relate to or connect to one another.
Right. Because if you're going to make, and it is referred to Earth 6160, so it is its own contained universe. It's not like the Ultimate Universe is not Black Label where they can just do whatever they want and it's standalone Elseworld stories. It is supposed to be a secondary universe, not universes, as far as I understand it.
Correct.
They also mention I forget how they word it, but a psychic mutant, I guess. Because when they're
in this issue,
when they're talking about Wolverine when he's in the test tube, pneumatic tube, whatever you called it, they say like we can't subdue him. Like we've tried a number of times to give him things to subdue him, and it doesn't work on him because of his healing factor. And someone says, well, we do have that other psychic guy. Is that Professor X? Is that Jean Grey? Because you don't see who it is, but whoever it is powerful enough to knock him out to the point where they can do the adamantium, and they basically erase his brain other than his survival instinct.
Yeah,
or so they think. So someone pretty powerful is being referenced So going back to my whole thing about the Ultimate Universe is clearly I feel like they're introducing this idea of Ultimate X-Men proper.
Mm.
And
And
so
sort of working towards it.
yeah, so like kind of what was the point of doing this whole Peach Momoko thing? Why wasn't that just its own thing? I think it would have been received a lot better if they just did, you know, Peach Momoko's X-Men and had that be its own little bubble, because it hasn't really bled out into the other Ultimate titles as far as I know.
No. And I think so far the only connectivity I've caught is between Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimates.
Yeah.
This even seems separate, you know, and
Right.
has yet doesn't in this, at least in this issue, doesn't directly link to what's going on in those other books. I've
And
enjoyed
also,
the Ultimates enough. I don't love it, and I can be distracted by Ultimate Spider-Man, but I agree that my only issue with Ultimate X-Men is the sense that it's just its own thing and it's not being branded properly.
right. Yeah.
But it doesn't impact my
That was always my
enjoyment.
critique of it too.
Yeah. And then when we reviewed it, that was what we were both kind of getting to. And having now read whatever it is, issue all the way through issue 9 or whatever, it's continued to be something very unique, very entertaining, very creative, perfectly like targeted towards what Peach does best, and yet still abstract in the concept of, but why call it Ultimate X-Men? Like what is the function beyond?
Right.
So giving, like you're saying, a different title would probably solve all of that. But at the same time, I'm still perfectly happy with what I'm getting. But to your point, how these things connect? What is the function of having Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate X-Men be so bizarrely different? And then how do these things link?
Right.
Yeah.
They also make him so far it seems even more invincible than our regular Earth Wolverine, because
He doesn't need a parachute.
He doesn't need a parachute. He gets hit by the butts of guns. He gets hit by a bunch of bullets. They even say like he got shot in the face and healed up quickly enough to kill the guy who just shot him.
Yeah.
So, regular 616 Wolverine is basically immortal, as it's been, we have found out through the years.
Right.
But it can take him a while to recover, whereas this, it seems like he's just invincible so far.
And that might be just the, I don't know, issue 1 momentum of it all. They're like, we just got to make him look so freaking cool in this first issue. He's jumping out of planes and making craters in the ground and then walking away from it and, doing all the cool hero stuff. And it's possible that will wane. Like when you meet the villain the first time, he just annihilates the whole team. And then the next time they match up, he's like getting his ass handed to him. It's like flips so dramatically.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing to balance, because having the, basically invincible hero is really a hard thing to do. Like Superman without kryptonite, where, okay, he's just always going to win, and you just know he's always going to win. So the story has to be not about him if he's going to win. It's about, everything around that. So it'd be interesting to see if they power him down or make him vulnerable, or if they just totally miss the boat on it.
I will say also, I wanted to mention that I like the artwork a ton.
Yeah, it was cool.
A book with very little like dialogue. It's kind of dialogue light. Really does have some good pacing, and there are a lot of like quiet moments after he kills Nightcrawler. He kind of walks out of the base and in the moonlight, and there's just some really interesting sequences that capture the mood like cinematography in a Fast and Furious movie that lays the groundwork, that sets up the excitement. So I was very happy with Capuccio.
Alessandro Capuccio.
Did a really solid job here. So I was happy throughout with the look of the book.
One thing that confused me, and that's probably just because I'm adult, because I figured it out fairly quickly, was the flashback thing.
Yes.
Like I didn't at first. I thought they were happening at the same time.
Same.
And I was like, why are we here? And and I was like, oh, this is his origin leading up to what we're seeing him do at the church. But it took me like longer than it should have. And again, I don't know if that's just because I'm dense or if that's because like I don't know why they didn't just put like before. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I almost like that they didn't, because it feels jarring in some kind of way to read it, which it is in Logan's mind jarring, past and present kind of like jumbled together.
Right.
But it is like stark in the sense that it's like this page is one and this page is next.
I didn't see Iron Man in this.
If they had maybe jumbled some of it where you could get the sense that he's like not fully aware of past and present and how maybe we would have had more of a connective experience with where Logan's at.
Right. Or if we are playing with the idea of him struggling with his memory, have him react to the memories somehow where, he gets this kind of brain spike of a memory and we get a few panels of what's happening. And, it's kind of been done before, but it's an effective way to convey that idea.
Yeah, well, so has combining two characters to make a new character. It's like, right. We just read Helverine a couple months ago, and now we've got Winter Wolverine.
Yeah.
So, it's not a terribly original concept. It's more about the execution, for me at least, and how they're bringing those elements to bear. And I do think that the pathology of Winter Soldier and Wolverine mesh very easily. That it's peanut butter and chocolate in some way.
Well, it's chunky peanut butter and smooth peanut butter. Like they are very similar in origin.
So maybe too similar for you.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, yes, it makes sense.
Are there chunks in here? I don't even know anymore.
Because they never refer to him as Wolverine in this. They do at one point reference Logan, but he is referred to as the Winter Soldier. So this isn't. It's the only reason this is Ultimate Wolverine is because we recognize the character visually as Wolverine. This is Ultimate Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's fair too. Maybe they're both named wrong.
Now you're just messing with me.
They could have easily called this Ultimate X-Men, and it would have served just as good a function. And then they could have called the other book Lord knows what, like Peach Momoko's X-Men, whatever.
It could have been X whatever, like X Factor, X Force, X Patrol, X Static. Like, there's how many X titles have there been over the years? Like, you could have called it, X whatever.
Yeah.
X Momoko. Or X some Japanese word that means mutant, I don't know. That's I don't want to harp on that too much. It really threw me off.
No, but it is an editorial branding issue on the Marvel side that is important to reference, because I do think it turned a ton of people off to Peach and what she was doing with that book, which is a shame. But I understand completely that there were people that were like, I bought and what I wanted was an X-Men book.
Yeah. Well, especially after
I got was something different.
Especially after Ultimate Spider-Man getting this huge release of this huge, spec bump immediately, where people are like, oh, this is Peter Parker told in a different way. And then you think, oh, this is going to be the X-Men I know and love and told in a different way. And could not be further from that.
I mean, maybe it's arguably like a New Mutants more than anything, where these
Yeah.
are young kids figuring things out. But there is no Xavier, there is no school, there's I mean, even at issue 9, that none of that stuff's come into play.
Yeah.
It's still, but they've added other kids in their circle that have abilities, but they have not gotten to the point where they are coming together to like learn. There's none of that still. They're all
Right.
still sort of dealing with the Shadow King character,
hmm
which again feels like a New Mutants villain. So it feels to me like a New Mutants book in some way.
Yeah. Marvel should
That's
just
what it
hire
is.
us for editorial already.
Ultimate New Mutants. That's what she could have called it.
Yeah. I mean, I would have made a lot more sense.
I
But
still would have bought it.
regardless of any of that, it was an entertaining enough issue on its own merit. It just there were a number of things that confused me as a reader that I think could have been handled better.
In the Wolverine issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm down. I will say, like I mentioned earlier, I still like it better than Ultimates and Ultimate Spider-Man, but I'm an Ultimate Spider-Man hater. And Ultimates has just been fine. It's been passing or passable. But I'm not loving the whole the maker and the whole like the whole like backstory plot of this universe is just kind of boring to me. So whenever they get into like that, I'm always like, and the Ultimates is a lot of that stuff.
I will say, like, having a silent, powerful assassin killer character is always cool. Like, obviously, Snake Eyes is all time.
Right.
So this is akin to that, but if he's your main protagonist, it's kind of hard. I feel like it's going to be hard to carry a book with him if he's just not talking, or doesn't have any sort of sense of self.
I mean, I can't foresee it lasting more than a couple more issues of that before they finally snap.
Yeah, I think this is an ongoing, right?
Yeah, all the Ultimate books, as far as I understand, are ongoing.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that moving forward with whether or not how they treat his character, what the story around his character is. Because as a first issue of him just wreaking havoc and killing a bunch of dudes, pretty cool. 10 issues of that, pretty boring.
No. Yeah. I imagine that this first arc is going to be all about him snapping out of it, and then what does it mean going forward, right?
Yeah. And also, I just want to put this tiger on the table and stare at it, or whatever, yell at it, whatever the phrase is. Pull a tiger by its tail.
I'm going to use that someday. So I'm put the tiger on the table and stare at it.
Why is it that it's okay in media, television, comic books, whatever, to show Wolverine stabbing a guy through the throat and out of the mouth with his claws?
Right.
But you got to bleep out the word shit.
And God forbid you have Batman show his dong.
Oh my God. Recall it. Just, I don't know. I've never.
I mean, if you're asking about America's puritanical culture, we could probably spend a lot of time.
I understand it's a rhetorical question. I just, like I said, I need to stare at that tiger on the table.
I'm with you. I get it.
So, anything else you want to grade it?
Yeah, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10, and I'll probably want to read digitally some of the next few issues just to see if it gets better or worse or maintains or whatever, something in that range.
I'm a bit lower than you. I was going to say 7.5 just because it was entertaining enough, but like at the end of the day, I didn't care.
And it is
mostly because
$6 too. That's a bit expensive.
Yeah, mostly because like he's not a character right now. He's just a killing machine.
He's a concept.
And I understand that's the story, but it doesn't make me want to follow his journey as much without getting because even in the flashback scenes, he's just trapped in the test tube and he still has that metal thing on his mouth, so you still don't get any interaction with him in another character. You never get his point of view. So that made it a little hard for me to want to continue the story because I don't care what happens to him right now.
And to your point, if this is something that is drawn out way too far, where we end up getting, 2 story arcs where he's still just trying to, at the end of 2 story arcs, he's just starting to crack through his subconscious, it would get old fast. My hope is that it moves pretty briskly and that we get to him snapping out of it pretty early, but then where it goes after he comes to reality, that's going to be the interesting part.
I'm all about the idea of Wolverine being a character of few words, of being reserved, of being brutish, of being like, I don't need no friends, bub type of character. Like, I don't need him to be this quippy, kind of Hugh Jackman emotional Wolverine. I'm okay with him being this in the shadows, I'll talk when I have something to say type of Wolverine. And if that's the direction they go with it, that's fine. But again, I need something. I need a flashback of him being a human or a mutant, but him
and to have Logan. That growth. Do you want character that has like development? Ideally, I mean that's what I want.
Yeah.
So my hope, what I took from this was, this is just 0 and we're going to get him to 100 here, and I don't how quickly we get there, that's going to be the make or break for me for this book.
So I don't, especially if all the issues are $6, I'm not going to be picking this up month to month.
I think just like Lucky Devils, I'll be reading it digitally.
I mean, I'm much more likely to pick up Lucky Devils 2 than I am to pick up Ultimate Wolverine #2.
Fair.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about quickly?
I was going to mention the Rick Remender Seasons book. The Seasons issue 1 came out in January, and I thought had a really interesting concept. I liked kind of the creepy carnival vibe we get at the beginning. And then, like I told Alec, the book is basically almost exclusively a little girl chasing a letter through town. She's like, where's the letter go? No, it's blowing away. I gotta catch it. I gotta jump on my bike. It's in the air. I'm gonna catch it. And the idea is it's a girl who's getting a letter from her sister, and that's basically the entire plot of the first issue. But the framing of it is such that the letter has significance, and when she gets it, and of course gets it and reads it, then she realizes that there's actually something sinister going on in the little town. So I like the concept. I like the art style, and I love the design, the character design of these creepy carnival guys. I don't even know like what to call them. There's a whole spread page here of the creepy carnival folk, which I kind of gives me like, it's just a little off-putting, kind of like a French carny. I don't know.
It's a little
where's the one
nightmarish Dr. Seussian?
Kind of, yeah. This guy freaking me out. I don't know what this guy is all about, but I dig the look of it, and it's it's just kind of, it's like a mime,
a little Uncanny Valley.
There you go. So entertaining, and much like the other ones, I'll probably want to read. I don't know if the Seasons is ongoing. I got the sense from it that it's a limited series, but I feel like I never know for sure until they they released the 5th trade and they're like, no, it's ongoing. I swear.
I feel like there are fewer and fewer indie ongoings these days.
So I thought that first issue was strong, and only $3.99. It's got a ton of pages to it. So Image yet again cranking out another good Remender concept that could be a really good story. So worth the time.
Cool.
I might come back around to it when we get to the end of the year.
I don't have anything else.
I feel like I froze you there for a second.
No, that's just my brain. Sometimes it shuts off and I have to be like, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be talking right now.
But that's pretty much all the issue number ones I had for the month of January. A lot of the rest were just ongoings. The Poison Ivies.
I picked up this just because it has like the really throwback looking cover with
it does
even has the Nick Fury
corner box art or whatever.
I've not read it because it looks not great.
The interior. Oh, yeah. I did buy. I guess it was just last week. The that was loud. The Storm Life.
Oh yeah, the Ben Oliver cover.
Yeah, and was this the Copiel? That's the Oliver.
Who it is?
And then there's I got 2 covers, but it was not good. I did not like this. It's a sin to compare this with the title like you would to the life death stories. This bears no resemblance to those really well crafted 80s comics. So this felt like they couldn't be bothered to put an original idea and some big talent with something to actually say on the book. So instead they did this like, oh, we don't know where it connects. It's just maybe we'll come back to it later, maybe we won't. Who knows? Kind of a thing. We'll just sell you more Storm covers, John. And my dumbass bought 2 of them. Yeah, so there you go. Not but worth the.
Still better than it being like a 1 in 50 incentive that you need to track down.
Right. No, these were both $4 or whatever covers plus my discount or whatever. So I'm fine with the variants, but I was hoping just with the title Life Dream that it would be in some way give me the Barry Windsor Smith an activity, but it didn't have anything, and the art was real mediocre sometimes because it's like several artists working on it, I think, and every once in a while you get a panel and be like, wow, they just
comparing
that monkeys in there.
Comparing anything to Barry Windsor Smith is a hard.
I tried not to have my hopes too high. I was just hoping it would be like a continuation of that concept of like introspection in some way, that it does not rise to that level even remotely.
Yeah, I still think that guy doesn't get the flowers he deserves.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I rarely am. You have anything you want to promote coming up?
No, I'm good. No, this was fun. And then next month we will be doing the February books, and I don't know,
back on John's channel.
Do I have any yet that I was looking at? I don't think so. I don't know that I have any February. We got to look and see what's coming this month if there's something we want to dive into.
Yeah, there's some new Image book coming out next week that I just saw that looked kind of interesting, but I forget what it's called.
Nice. All right, cool. So
maybe look forward to that. Some sort of maybe Image book that might look interesting. But it's on John's channel, so who cares? You're going to sit there and watch it anyway. Like
it's going to be the title of most of these shows.
All right. Yeah, we play D&D right here on this channel most Sunday nights. We will be off this weekend because of the Super Bowl, but wrapping up are coming close to wrapping up the campaign we're running right now. So check that out if you want. It's a hoot and a half. Otherwise, I don't do much. I will be possibly at MegaCon tomorrow if anyone's there, and you can spot me, say hi, or don't. I'm not gonna make him. Why am I making demands of you? If you want to say hi and you see me, feel free to say hi.
That was very quickly an or don't. Like it really,
Well,
you instantly regretted saying that.
it's not that I don't want to say hi to
Say
people.
hi
It's
to
that I
me.
don't want
But
to
why?
feel.
Why would you do that?
I don't want people to feel obligated because I said, if you see me, say hi. Do it. All right. Until next time, enjoy your weekend and never turn your back on the ocean. Goodbye.